Looking for insider tips to help make your next colonoscopy prep and procedure a little bit easier? I've done 4 colonoscopies over the past 8 years, plus many additional bowel cleanses to prepare for other medical procedures. So I've become a bit of an expert on cleaning out my bowels. I'll share with you the tips and tricks that I've picked up over the years so that you can be a pro for your next one. Why have I had so many colonoscopies before I've even hit the screening age of 45? Welcome to Life as a Cancer Survivor. My name is Jelena, and I was diagnosed with stage 3 rectal cancer in 2016. But enough about me. Let's jump into the tips that will help make you a colonoscopy pro. Preparing for a colonoscopy doesn't just start the day before the procedure. You also need to follow a low-fiber, low-residue diet for 3 to 7 days before the procedure. The actual length of time will be determined by your doctor. Why do you need to do this? Well, high-fiber foods like nuts, seeds, raw fruits, and raw vegetables, they aren't as easily digested, so they hang out in your colon for a little longer. If they're still present during your colonoscopy, they can obstruct views of your colon wall, and your doctor may not be able to see a small polyp that could be in there. I normally eat a pretty healthy, high-fiber diet, so I like to plan ahead my meals in those days leading up to the colonoscopy, so I make sure I've got all the foods I need on hand. Canned fruit, white rice, white pasta, yogurts, cream of wheat, and eggs are all good bases for meals and snacks. For my last prep, I had cream of wheat with yogurt every day for breakfast. I made egg salad sandwiches with avocado, plus I had cottage cheese, canned pears, and potato chips for lunch. Then dinner was either fried rice or ramen with well-cooked veggies. Peanut butter toast, applesauce, and saltines with cheese were all good snacks. Consult with the list that your doctor gives you for additional options based on your food likes and dislikes to make sure that the foods you're eating are approved in those days leading up to your colonoscopy. Now let's talk about the preps themselves. There are quite a few for you and your doctor to choose from, and they fall into 2 categories. The oldest and most popular type of preps are the polyethylene glycol or PEG-based ones, which involve drinking a large amount of liquid. PEG-based preps include Go Lightly and the Gatorade and Miralax preps. They're considered the gentlest because they don't disturb the mucosa in your intestines. They're also considered the safest for those that are at risk of complications from dehydration or low electrolytes, such as those with kidney, liver, or heart disease. The second category are lower volume preps, which are saline-based and contain sodium phosphate as the magic ingredient that makes you purge. You will still need to drink a lot of liquid with these preps, just not as much as with the PEG-based ones. Common varieties of this prep are Clenpick, Suprep, and Sutab, although Sutab is just pills. Each prep has its pros and cons, so you kind of just have to do one to figure out if it's one that you can tolerate. Since I've done so many, I'm going to rank for you my least favorite to favorite. At the bottom, and my least favorite, Suprep. This is the prep that I did 1 year after the surgery to remove all the cancer from my body. I consider this a medium volume prep because even though you get a small bottle of the prep itself, you have to mix it with water. So you have 16 ounces of prep tasting liquid to drink for each dose. The first sip, it didn't taste too bad, but by the time I got to the end of dose 1, it started tasting like really bad cough syrup. And I still had a whole nother dose to take a few hours later. Halfway through the second dose, I threw up and I couldn't drink any more of it. I had already purged enough, and when I was going to the bathroom, things were coming out pretty clear already, so I assumed I had downed enough of the prep that I was clean enough to get the colonoscopy done. I was right. The doctor didn't complain about my colon not being empty or clean enough for the procedure. Taste for me was 0 out of 5 stars, and I would not do this prep again. A little better than the Suprep, but still near the bottom of the list is Go Lightly. This is the one that comes in the gigantic jug. I'm sure you all are familiar with it, even if you haven't done a colonoscopy. When I first started this prep, I didn't add the flavor packet because I didn't want it to be overly sweet. And when I took the first sips of it, it was really gross. So I added the flavor packet in. But that didn't really help it a whole lot. The taste 0 out of 5 stars. But I was able to drink it all and I didn't throw up. If I had to do this prep again, I'd probably ask the doctor if I could add my own flavoring to make it taste a little bit better. The second best prep is the Miralax and Gatorade. I've done multiple versions of this one to include various quantities of the Gatorade mixed with a 14-day supply bottle of Miralax. Some of them I had to do magnesium citrate at the beginning, and most of them have you take some quantity of a pill stool softener to help things come out more easily. The pro to this one is that since Miralax has no taste, you get to choose the flavor of your Gatorade/sports drink. It has to be some kind of sports drink with electrolytes because you're purging so much, you need those replenished. The cons are, it's a lot of liquid to drink, so you can feel like you're swimming in liquid by the end of it. The taste can get overwhelmingly sweet, but otherwise, it's a decent and pretty popular option. You don't have to have a prescription written for this one either, so you can just head to the grocery store and pick up all the supplies you need there. This one is my second favorite, mostly because of the sheer quantity of liquid that you have to drink. And my favorite prep? Clempic. This one is my favorite prep for 2 reasons. One, it's a small amount of the prep itself to drink. The bottles, they're only 5.8 ounces and you don't have to mix them with anything. And 2, you get to choose what those clear liquids are that you're drinking after you finish each of those little bottles. I had on hand ginger ale, pulp-free lemonade, and sparkling water. The mixture of sweet, sour, and the bubbles helped keep the prep from tasting too overwhelmingly gross or sweet. This prep cleaned me out sufficiently too, so this would be my preferred prep the next time I have to go in for a colonoscopy. Whatever prep that you do, here are 3 insider tips to help make that prep a little easier to handle. First, chill the prep ahead of time. Drinking it chilled makes it a little bit more palatable than at room temperature. Second, drink the prep with a straw if you're not a fan of the taste. You can bypass the taste buds a bit by situating the straw in just the right spot in your mouth so that it doesn't hit your tongue. Third, have some hard candy on hand, as long as it's not red, orange, or purple, so that you can suck on it to mask or get rid of the taste of the prep in your mouth. Gummy bears are okay too to suck on, again, as long as you set aside the red, orange, and purple ones for after the colonoscopy. Now, before you head to the store to buy all the food, drinks, and snacks to get you through your prep, there are also some supplies that you'll want to consider getting to make your prep a little more comfortable. Here are 3 things that you'll want to consider having on hand. The first thing to have on hand is some extra soft toilet paper. Maybe that's what you'll usually have on hand, but if you don't, buy a small package of it. Your butt will thank you later. Second, diaper rash cream. The point of the colonoscopy prep is to clean your colon out completely so the walls can be easily seen during the procedure. That means there's going to be quite a few bathroom visits. And at the beginning of the prep, things coming out may be solid, but by the end, it's going to be liquid. Protect your butt by putting some diaper rash cream on before the purging even starts. It'll put down a protective barrier to help keep your butt from getting raw. I like to reapply it after every bathroom visit too because it does wipe off. Keep in mind that the diaper rash cream can be greasy and it can stain underwear, so make sure you wear an old pair. Or you can invest in item number 3, some adult diapers, which are also handy to have in case of accidents or a little bit of leakage during the prep. They don't go bad either, so they're going to last for multiple colonoscopies. One final thing to plan ahead for is you need someone to bring you home from the procedure. Because you'll be put to sleep for the colonoscopy, you aren't allowed to drive yourself home, and you aren't allowed to take a bus, a taxi, or a ride share alone to get yourself home. It doesn't have to be an immediate family member, just anyone that you trust that can legally drive you home. Once you're done purging and it's time to head to the doctor's office, things get easier. Your hard work is done, and it's time for you to sit back and relax and let the doctor do their job. Once you check in, you get taken back to a room where you have to change into a hospital gown and where you'll get an IV placed. If you're going to be put to sleep for the colonoscopy, an anesthesiologist will come in, talk to you about the risks, and have you sign some papers saying that you know that there are risks to being put to sleep for the procedure. The doctor will also come in at some point to see if you have any questions or concerns about the procedure and ask if you've been experiencing any symptoms that they should know about. Once it's your time, you'll get wheeled back in your hospital bed to the procedure room where there are a bunch of monitors that the anesthesiologist will use to keep tabs on your vitals to make sure they're staying safe through the entire procedure. And then, of course, the equipment that the doctor's going to use for your colonoscopy. They'll have you roll onto your left side, then they'll give you the meds through your IV to put you to sleep. The next thing you know, it's all over and you're back in the room where you started. It can take a bit to wake up from the anesthesia. I faded in and out of consciousness for at least 10 to 15 minutes before I could finally stay awake for more than a minute at a time. Eventually, a nurse will come in and offer you a drink and a snack since it's probably been at least 24 hours since you last ate solid food. Once your blood pressure and oxygen levels are stable, they'll remove all the monitors and IV from you. And once you feel strong enough, you can get up, change your clothes, and leave. It can take anywhere from a few hours to a few days for your next bowel movement to happen. So don't worry if things are off for a few days after your procedure. Hopefully these tips have helped clear up what you can expect and will help make your next colonoscopy go a little smoother. To see me go through my last 2 colonoscopy preps, check out the playlist up here. Or check out this video down here that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy from my channel. Thanks for watching.